Let's finish up with your review of The Laundromat, man. This has Gary Oldman. It's
Meryl
about money laundering, right? Or what is it about?
It's not exactly clear what this movie's about, which I think is really the most interesting part. I think
it's about a scam.
It follows Meryl Streep's character. She gets into an accident early on in the film, like a cruise accident, and she's trying to cash in on the insurance for it. But like the further deep down she tries to investigate how to get in contact with the insurance people, she realizes there's really no insurance company. It's just a bunch of shell companies on top of shell companies on top of shell companies. And it's really a film. The film is very much like a European style The Big Short, essentially what it is. Because there's a lot of turning to camera, explaining what's going on, and emphasizing the kind of financial, because there's a lot of wonky stuff that goes into this movie. And it follows a lot of different characters in this movie and how they're all involved in these individual scams. So at points it follows Gary Oldman's character, who's kind of business partners with Antonio Banderas, and they own these, and they're like law partners who owns a lot of shell companies from a lot of different places. You know how American companies make random companies to hide money. So this is essentially about the undoing of that and how that led to like the big financial crisis in like 2008, 2009. So I personally think this movie's really great, even though I didn't fully understand it.
Sure.
This movie plays with a lot of vignettes. Another subplot follows Justin Long's character, who is like the cruise ship owner. He's like, well, how do I, like, I'm going to go out of business. Like, there's no insurance. So it follows how all of these individual stories kind of intertwine with each other. You know what I mean? It is a very loose, very episodic type structure. But and it doesn't really have like a clear narrative per se. But the films that it's referencing in and of itself very much paint the story for what this movie's about. And the films that it's referencing are a lot of the 1960s and particularly early 1970s French political films that were coming out of the French New Wave. Jean-Luc Godard. And there are very much there's imagery throughout the entire movie that alludes to that, but particularly Tout va bien, which is one of my personal favorite movies. It very much is like The Big Short, and the fact that it's like very technocratic and very like wonky about like finances and stuff like that.
Money.
And Gary Oldman does a really weird acting bit with it where he has this like weird accent where it's kind of hard to understand.
This is very performance heavy, right?
It's all
Antonio Banderas is also
like
performance. Like they're playing ququirky ass characters.
Everybody's a quirky character.
Yeah, even Meryl Streep.
Yeah, well, Meryl Streep is like playing Meryl Streep. You know what I mean? Like she just is great in everything.
Sure.
But it very much is in vein of like her being like the normal civilian who is caught up in this bigger, overwhelming scandal, surrounded by all these kooky characters. So
interesting.
Not a very clear and concise review.
It comes out on Netflix, though, right?
It comes out on Netflix.
I got it. I got your review, man. You said it's very episodic.
Very
you said
episodic.
It's very story. Yeah. Different little stories.
Here's what I'll say:
cool.
if you enjoy style and you enjoy a message, you'll enjoy this movie.
Sure.
But if you're looking for like a clear, cohesive narrative thing, you might be a little disappointed because it doesn't necessarily have that.
Gotcha.
But I think the style that it's invoking also doesn't have that either. Like the French movies that it's referencing does not have a very clear-cut means to it. And I love the fact that it's going on Netflix, and I love the fact that a lot of Soderbergh's movies are on Netflix because it will require multiple rewatches. And I think that's what the benefit of Netflix is that you could just kind of rewatch a movie instantaneously if you feel kind of lost on it. But it's very easy to get lost in this movie for sure.
Cool.
And I don't think, also by the way, the reviews are kind of down the middle. Like it has a 57% on Metacritic or something like that. And I could totally see why a lot of people won't like this movie. And a lot of people probably have good reasons not to like this movie, but I personally really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's a great review.
Thank you.
I'll definitely check it out when it comes on Netflix.
Appreciate it.